It's because Rudy's abandonment issues being applied to Norn, and Norn's thing. Everyone's got fucking problems, man. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back to another episode of Mushoku Tensei. Don't have any comments for this episode, but I will bring up the board first thing. No real difference here to the old board. I haven't added or changed any character relationships, because not really much has changed, other than maybe blue line from Sylphie to Rudy, but that's kind of more represented here in the family board thing. And of course, over here I've got the other, what am I going to call it, religious god relationship. I tried to take that and bring that down here and do something different with it, based on what I was talking about before with the ranks of gods. You know, technique god, dragon god, battle god, demon god, death god, sword god, north god, and then the two that we know that aren't any of these, but also aren't on the list, Lapis and human god. And then I just tried to associate the same thing I'd done up here, but down here, which is say like allies on the bottom, enemies on top, sort of deal. Like Pergius defeats Lapis, and then Alnafani is a ally of Pergius. Rujard, antagonistic relationship to Lapis, but is himself an ally of Rudeus, who is himself an ally of human god. I believe Lapis is an ally of Orsted. I believe that's what was happening there. And of course, Nanahoshi, an ally of Orsted. Sword God, that's the one that confused me a bit, because I believe Ghislaine is a practicing user of the Sword God techniques, which feels like to me would be a representative of the Sword God in some way. And the same way that Paul is also a user of the Sword God techniques. I believe Ghislaine is said to be a better or higher level user than Paul. And so that's why it's like ranked down. It's not like Sword God, Ghislaine, Paul. It's just Paul is a lesser user, so I put him lower on the board. And of course, both of them try to teach Rudy Sword God techniques or train him in the ways. I'm not exactly sure, but that's why they got green lines going this way. And of course, the Emperor and the Empress of the demons, or the demon race, or demon kingdom, or whatever you want to call it. I put them underneath Demon God, but I'm not sure. Because again, these aren't characters that have shown a relationship to anybody else, or anything else. So I don't know if they're even like allied with the Demon God, antagonistic to the Demon God. It just seemed to me that I should put them there as the only other two representatives of the demon race. So I guess for the future, in the YouTube comment section or the Patreon comment section, very specifically, if I am forgetting something about any of these god characters that I should have been, or that I've been told, and I should have noted, let me know, because otherwise I don't remember anything specifically. Sword God is the only one coming to me because of the whole, people have been trained in Sword God technique. And once again, I always introduce this the same way every time. I record these solo live reactions on Fridays at 11 a.m. EST, where there is a chat, and I'm going to respond to a chat now, which is Alex saying, "Man, God, and ally. I've had a bad feeling about him since the encounter with Orsted. Maybe it's just me." I know it's not just you, because Justin also had the conceit that he thought Man God was not an ally. And I will agree in so far as to say that Man God, or Human God, sorry, clearly has an objective. I don't know what the objective is, but on the course to making Rudy the kind of person who could achieve that objective, he has also helped Rudy along the way to achieve the goals that would not only make Rudy a better person, but also reach the place in his life where Rudy would be happy. So, in that way, I have to believe that in the moment, he is an ally. Now, could he heel turn later? Definitely. Could happen. But until the heel turn happens, he's not an enemy. He has to be more active, I feel like, to be an enemy, or create the situation that creates or turns him into the enemy. The fact that Rudy crossed paths with Orsted, who then killed him, and Human God may have known it was happening and maybe even orchestrated the whole thing, does not automatically make him a bad guy or an antagonist to Rudy, I feel like. Because it's entirely possible that Rudy could have gotten himself out of that situation without dying. Literally, all he had to do was follow the advice of his friends or his traveling companions at the time, which was don't say anything, don't look at him. Rudy is the one that got himself into hot water. I believe most of that blame falls on Rudy, even if Human God put him into the scenario. That's just opinion, though. The writing could prove me wrong at any moment, so it is what it is. Like I said, Justin thought that he was suspicious. I don't believe that Griffin got far enough to think he was very suspicious. I don't believe Griffin voiced an opinion about the matter. I see him as an ally at the moment because even if you're being played, he's only reaping the benefits so far, even if he's getting played. It's not until the negatives start coming that I feel like we can consider him anything else. Alright, anyway. I got notes. I hope Rudy doesn't go through an entire self-doubt arc overthinking what Eris meant by not being well matched. He said it himself last episode. Sylphette was the one to save him, not Eris. Which isn't to say that Eris isn't an important person to him, but I regard Eris now the same way I did the end of the episode Slow Life in the Doldea village. The difficulty I had there was the concept that in this world, travel feels slow and time-consuming, so that saying goodbye to characters we met might really be goodbye forever. So just for a very long time, or just for a very long time, that the time spent with these people will have just been some small segment of their life, and they will move on to become different people than the ones we knew when we see them again. Use Sylphette as an example. We left her as a somewhat timid kid, and look how far she's come. Her perspective on things might not have changed drastically, but she's certainly more skilled and confident, as well has grown up a whole hell of a lot too. Eris left to make the difference between her and Rudy less noticeable, to make herself feel like she wasn't a burden to the man that she loved. A lot can happen in a journey like that. Cliff could certainly be our example here. He was infatuated with Eris, and on his path, he met the love of his life in someone else. Eris certainly wasn't done developing as a person. She had to have recognized that herself, to have taken such a massive step as she did. The prospect of her coming back as the exact same person she was when she left, or not having had developed beyond the reason she left in the first place, would be just disappointing. Likewise, I would expect more from Rudy than to just fall back into old habits when he's already moved forwards in his own life. His current situation is the culmination of his journey from that taking a step forwards to now. Please don't throw it out the window to create a love triangle. I've watched enough Macross to have gotten plenty of those love triangles. Thank you. So yes, that's the paragraph I typed to myself about the first 2 to 3 minutes of last episode. Because I just don't want that. I don't want Eris to come back and for a love triangle to happen as though nothing had changed in all the time that's gone by. It would literally feel like it would negate the first arc of the second season. And I don't want that. I want Rudy to have developed past that person. I want Eris to have developed past that person. I want Eris to come back and introduce Rudy to the guy that she met, you know? I understand that we left her with a shouting from the mountaintops that she loves Rudy, but we left Cliff the same way, and look where Cliff is now. And I think I like this Cliff better than the Cliff we left in that OVA. So, I don't know. I think I rambled enough about that one part. Another bit of watching the opening for clues again. I didn't think of it much at first, but there's a scene of Nanahoshi taking off her mask in the opening and looking back at camera. At first, I just thought that she might be looking in a mirror or something, but quite clearly the camera is looking out of the mask at Nanahoshi's back before she turns to look at the camera herself. With our perspective being whoever it is, the hand that is taking off the mask is. There isn't a lot of detail to work off of from the short shot, but the person is clearly walking forwards and the camera is at an eye level perspective, so whoever it is slightly shorter than Nanahoshi herself. The sleeve of the arm is visible, it's coming in from this angle, which has an almost matching look to Nanahoshi's blue-white sleeve. I'd have almost guessed that maybe Norn made friends with her due to Norn's outfit being the same color scheme, but Norn has she has straight white sleeves. My best guess is that either someone is pretending to be Nanahoshi, or that one of the boys from the accident is about to show up, doing the exact same move that Nanahoshi herself did. And this probably goes down along the same. Theta tries to figure out a gauntlet arm laying across someone's lap. I think that was my whole thing last episode. Fighting the Hydra in the opening. Paul, Rudy, Tall Hand, Roxy, Ellen Elise, and Geese, which I guess means that the old adventuring party that I used to play Who's That Pokemon with back when Justin was watching has gotten back together. Minus Ghislaine, who must still be traveling with Eris, since Eris herself doesn't appear in that opening anywhere. And of course Zenith, who they are attempting to rescue. So Rougeard thinks it's odd that Badigadi would be here at the school, and Rudy mentions that he says he came here to meet Rudy. That does seem to foretell that things are happening behind the scenes involving Rudy without his knowledge. I'd suspect, and I apologize, I've never said her name right ever, Kishrika's involvement. If not for the fact that she gave Rudy the future sight eye, and the fact that she feels like she's the most non-serious character in the entire lineup. So I understand that something is being something is being hinted to me, but I don't know what the hint is elaborating towards. It's just that, yeah, again, I don't know. This is me acknowledging that something's being hinted. I just don't know what it is. I have to wonder if Paul spent any time explaining to Norn the situation between himself and Rudy. I can understand that she might be too young to really understand, or even be willfully misunderstanding due to how she feels, having witnessed a thing that she didn't like. It just feels like she's carrying this dislike of Rudy for far longer than she'd even want to if Paul had talked to her about it. Paul, being a far from perfect character, might not have. He could be so focused on saving his wife and keeping his kids safe that he just did what he needed to do without thinking about everyone's relationships. As we learned early on in the first season, Paul has expectations of what he thinks a good parent should be, and already had Rudy disprove that notion. So for me, there is no telling. Aisha says that her mother taught her everything, And then it turns out that she has passing grades for one of the best schools we've seen in the show. What kind of hidden genius has Lilia been this whole time? I know we've covered the fact that she's actually extremely skilled at swordsmanship and used to be a bodyguard, but without the background stuff of the manga that hasn't been in the anime, she's not only a genius, but an amazing teacher as well. I feel like her primary fault might be her attraction to being a maid, as she seems to have brainwashed her own daughter into thinking that it's the only path in life ahead of her. Again, she dressed her as a maid as her only outfit her entire life. Her self-image has to be maid only. I I've brought it up a number of times throughout, like, ever since Aisha first got shown as a character, as a, not a young adult, as a kid, anyway. From the moment she was wearing clothes that wasn't baby stuff, she has been a maid the whole way through. And it just feels like she is being raised to be a maid. Like that's why I say that her mother is brainwashing her to be this. Like, I'll wait a second. My next note might cover a bit of this from the social aspect, so I'm just going to read the next thing. When Aisha has her breakdown over Norn getting special treatment, she calls her mother a concubine. Rudy asks who told her that, and she lists her mother as a source, but also Norn's grandma. I had to go back and check the board I made specifically for family relations just to see if I was forgetting having met such a person before, and of course we haven't. Let me just drag up the board real quick here to make it look at the area we're talking about. The implication would have to be that Norn's grandma would have to be Zenith and Theresa's mother. Paul's mom would be both Norn and Aisha's grandma, so at some point in Paul's journey to find Zenith, as Aisha only joined his group after the reunion episode, he clearly took Aisha and Norn to Latrea's home, wherever that would be, also implying that they looked down on Lilia and possibly her daughter as well, which is why I said the social thing before, that it's, one, Lilia considers herself to be a concubine, which means you've got it from your own mother, but then Zenith's mom is also saying that Lilia is a concubine and telling that to her daughter, her granddaughter specifically, but Lilia's daughter, which means from a social outside aspect that Aisha is being told that she's not as good as other kids because of what her mother is believed to be. And of course, Rudy disagrees with that, but Lilia herself says that she is that, tells her daughter that she is, and then Aisha's getting that from the outside from other people. And again, haven't met uh, Latria, the Latria family outside of Therese, but the feel I get when you talk down to a kid's mom, or talk down about a kid's mom to the kid, is that, like, hoity-toity rich people separated from the rest kind of people. I don't know what they are like because we haven't seen them. Zenith doesn't seem that way. Therese doesn't feel that way. But again, Aisha says that Norn's grandma said that about her mother. That's the feel I get from that. And again, if that's like the social construct that's being forced upon Aisha, then I feel even worse for Aisha. Because once again, she's a genius kid who is already feeling that the social, the web of relationships around her is already forced her into a position to be low on the totem pole of importance, and has chosen not only to accept that as her entire life's position, but to try and enjoy it. And that's, I mean, I appreciate that that's what she's doing to accept her situation and make the best of it, but it's very sad, and it kind of makes me angry about characters we haven't even met yet. It is to me on the same level of Rudy's seeming acceptance of slavery in this world, right? We've gone over that a number of times, and I'm not directly bringing that back up, But Rudy, I'm not angry at Rudy in this case. I'm bringing it up as an example that this is an element of what feels like noble society. You know, I can't remember that big British show. That's literally upstairs, downstairs sort of situation. But it feels like that, and it's being applied to a character that we're meant to care about directly. And it is given in a passing line that makes me fearful for Aisha's ability to choose her own future. Or more so, the fact that, again, the brainwashing element, that it feels like her future has been chosen for her, and at this point, she's being made to accept it. And I don't like that. Aisha is, I can't say that she's my favorite character. She's one of, though. She is possibly my favorite family member. I think she might be my favorite family member, depending on how she grows up. So far, it's definitely not Norn. I know Norn has her own storyline thing going on, and I understand that there is an element of possibly Norn feels like she's not living up to what the rest of the like her whole family's exceptional, and it feels like Norn feels that she's not, and that is like dragging down her own mental state, and thus the way she reacts to everybody might not itself be her fault, more so as a social mental hindrance. But that doesn't make me like her very much anymore, especially when she doesn't like the main character because the main character had his own social, or rather, relationship stigma with his own dad, and that she just entered that at a bad time. Aisha has just been wonderful the whole time, and I feel more for her because of her whole social problem that I just got done explaining, and how she like has a whole breakdown about it, because that felt like the most real moment for her. Like the whole happy smiling facade might just actually be a facade. Just a random thought when it comes to Rudy's future vision. It works like a couple of seconds into the future so long as that eye is open, right? Meaning when he reaches for the bag of ladies' underwear that the girls gave him, he saw the hand slap coming and just chose to let it happen, right? But given the speed that it happened, wouldn't that also mean it's possible that he saw himself open the bag in that same second where he would have dodged getting his hand slapped? It certainly feels like the same amount of time as it took for him to save Gallius from having his head caved in by a pot back in season 1. Like, if you imagine, he reaches to open the bag, the hand slap comes in, dodges the hand slap, opens bag, and he would have seen in his, like, future 3D vision thing what was in the bag, even if not for half of a second, where he sees the results of the dodge. Because again, the whole Gallius pot slam thing implies that it's like 2 to 3 seconds ahead. I think he says like it's 1 second, but in the visual representation of the pot coming down and smacking Gallius seems to indicate 2 to 3. Either way, it seems to me it'd be enough time for him to have seen what was in the bag without actually having opened the bag, implying that the whole conversation afterwards about what's in the bag, he didn't even have to guess. But again, also more so that he just lets them slap him on the hand, because we know he could have dodged that. Alright, my last note here. Funny difference between the sub and the dub of the underwear theft conversation scene. In the sub, Rudy explains that he just got married to Sylphie. How could he have urges like that? But in the dub, he says the same thing about having married Sylphie, but changes the mention of having any urges to, I certainly wouldn't send them into the dorms with my little sister living there. Again, I just thought it was a funny little difference. One implying that his sexual urges are satisfied by Sylphie, the other one implying, even if I had done it, I wouldn't send them after my own little sister. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts. I thought the most important bit of them was the Aisha thing, because again, that's a more in-depth social commentary thing being hinted to us in a single sentence versus everything else, which is my insight, what I feel like during any moment. But yeah, with that said, I guess let's go ahead and hop on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Certainly doesn't hurt that these two jackasses were bullying her, apparently. Yeah, I was literally thinking that last episode. I didn't write it down, but it's like she's going through exactly what he went through. Just we don't have the inciting element. But how do you force a person out of that? Because it didn't work for you. You better hope you're right, though. I appreciate it. Right? Weird situation here. I was about to say I hope it is happening, because if it's not happening and she's just having social anxiety on her own, then he's going to look a real jackass here, and he's going to ruin his own, social reputation and everything he's developed here at the school up till now. But on the other hand, I hope it's not, because I hope she's not in that position. Because my thoughts here is, while the opening is going, she was that awkward person before she got at school. She didn't want to be around him. And she seemed just as awkward while she was at school as when she was just around him. So it doesn't automatically read to me as though she is getting bullied. But the element that she doesn't leave her room either, and I guess also like a month at school and doesn't know where her classes are, kind of does invoke that sense that maybe something is going on. And again, I brought it up before in the opening, she smiles at him in the hallway, so clearly something does get cleared up between them. So it might be entirely possible that he is right. I would like to see the situation solved. I don't want anybody to be in the bad on this one.
rudeus さん、今は授業中で。少々お時間を頂戴します。いいですね。しかし、皆さんご存知かと思いますが、この教室の女子生徒1名が不登校になりました。彼女は僕の妹です。まだ妹から事情は聞いていませんが、
It's clearly those two. Back left. Want someone fucking shut up to one another.
そして、それを作った人がこの中にいると、僕はそう思っています。
ドイツだ。ドイツがひどいことをした。
Yeah, her and the girl sitting next to her.
お前か？お前か？
できれば名乗り出てください。決して怒ったりはしません。ただ妹が傷ついたことを理解し、謝罪をしてほしいのです。
名乗り出た瞬間にバラバラにしてやる。
Damn
当
straight.
事者かそうでないかなんて関係ない。見て見ぬふりをしていたなら同罪だ。
We're going prison rules on this shit.
絶対に許さない。
すみません。どうぞ。
この間、私ノルンちゃんとちょっと話してて。
ついひどいことを言ってしまったと。
違います。私ルーデウスさんのことを知ってて、でもノルンちゃんは普通の子で、だから
Implying Rudy's not normal.
違うねって言ったらすっごく怒って。
怒った？俺と違うと言われてノルンがどういうことだ？
あ、何か思い出しましたか、先生。
ええ、先日ノルンさんに一つの宿題を出したのですが。
やりきれなかったから裸に向いて職員室に立たせたと。
What the fuck, man?
まさか少々出来が悪かったのでお兄さんを見習ってもう少し勉強しなさいと。
She's upset that she's constantly being compared to you.
泣きそうな顔になって頑張りますと。
Oh, it's one of those you're the problem situations.
俺も僕も
私も
Like I said, like I thought before,
俺のせいだっ
the
た。
problem is on
さ
Norn's
ぞ嫌
end,
だっただろう。
not what
今
other
まで
people are
散
doing
々
to
アーシャ
her.
と比較されてきたのに、今度は大嫌いなアニットだ。
くそ。
But now this is gonna get back to her too, and she's gonna fucking hate this.
ルディは悪くないよ。
シルフィー、ありがとう。
そうにゃ、ボスは悪くないにゃ。そうなの。気にする必要
That
ない
was
の。
a good use of meow.
二人もノルンのことを教えてくれてありがとう。さっきは付き合わせて悪かったな。なんか俺バカみたいだったろ。
妹のために動くのはバカじゃないぞ。あっちにも妹がいるからボスの気持ちはわかるにゃ。でもちょっと意外だったの。
Have you not revealed to them that you know who their little sisters are?
にゃあボス、これからどう
Also,
する
what
ん
the
だ？
fuck, man?
放っとくのかにゃ？
どうもこうもないでしょう。俺のせいで
You're
引きこも
fucking
ったんです
god now.
引きこもった。
Cup and water, please. While
引きこもったのだ。
無理やりにでも授業を受けさせるの。そうにゃ。部屋から出てこないとアホになるの。そうにゃそうにゃ。リニアみたいなアホになるの。プルセナの言う通りにゃ。にゃ。どういう意味や。言葉のままなの。
誰も好き好んで部屋から出てこないわけじゃないですよ。出てこないのは
what?
出てこないな
hello?
りの理由があるからで
That's
す。
what I do.
無理に外に連れ出しても何の解決にもなりません。けどかといってこのまま引きこもらせたままなんて絶対にダメだ。きっと確実に後悔する。
ルディ。
Pardon me, I'm about to go make a mistake.
俺が何とかしないと。
俺が
Again, the only thing that helped Rudy get out of his room was his brothers with baseball bats. Not great.
妹さんのこと私たちも協力させてほしいの。ボスにはいつもお世話になってるからが。
ありがとうございます。
I mean, he missed his own parents' funeral.
いい案があるにゃ。あっちらに任せるにゃ。え、なになにどうしたの？食堂でアリエル様が演説するんだって。え、それ本当？でもなんで急に？ほら早く、もう始まっちゃうわ。ルディ。
状況？
問題なし。みんな食堂に行ってる。
アリエルの演説で女子寮の生徒の気を引いてもらう。その間に俺が侵入し、
Oh, right, yeah.
という作戦だ。
I forgot the whole element. He just can't go see her. Especially not after his first day here on
準備で
campus.
きてるよ。ごめんね。力になれなくて。さっき僕もノルンちゃんの部屋に行ってみたんだけど、話を聞いてもらえなくて。
シルフィは何も悪くないさ。大丈夫。ノルンは俺が何とかしてみせる。
I don't think this is a situation where just being confident or anything will help. When did you become a fucking earthbender? I mean, you've been good, but this is like irrationally good at this.
もう気をつけてよね。ごめんなさいなの。
ノル、俺はお前に何かできるだろうか。
ついたにゃ。そこの突き当たりが妹さんの部屋にゃ。
I at least appreciate that it's like a whole network of people helping to try and help Norn. Because I feel like it's more than what Rudy had, because he had one friend
いるか？
that he pushed away, and then his parents who just couldn't.
ノル
The hell was that? Oh.
Noru.
俺が引きこもった時、兄貴が俺の部屋に来た。
Oh, that's more than what I thought actually happened.
兄貴は俺に向かい、あれこれと正論をぶつけた。お前よりもっと辛い目に遭っている人もいる。
I legit thought that Rudy got it mostly from his mom when his mom was talking outside the door when they were dropping food off.
それはもっと辛い。
About how she was confident that her son was a great guy and that he'd be able to pick himself back up after that.
そんな感じのこと。俺はそれに心の中で唾を吐いた。何も言い返すことなく徹底的に無視した。こんな奴に俺の気持ちはわからないと、そう決めつけて。
I know this is a horrible part for a joke, but literally the first thought that came to my head is that you could take her out into the street and throw her in front of a car and hope that she does better in the next life, like you did.
あの時以降、兄貴が俺に接触してくることはなかった。兄貴が何を考えたかはわからない。だけど多分、ここで引いたら俺も戻ってこられないだろう。ノルンも引きこもったままになってしまう。立ち去ってはダメだ。
The difficulties you're both having are not the same. Yours was caused by a reason. Hers is caused by, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not for a reason, but yours is like an event happened. Unless hers goes back to you beating up her dad, which caused this whole from the beginning, and it's like by proxy issue.
この人を恐ろしいと思うようになったのは初めて会った時。
Oh look, the thing I just said apparently was right.
それまでずっと私を守ってくれていたお父さんを、誰よりも私を大切にしてくれていたお父さんを。もうやめて。こんな人が家族だなんて認められるはずなかった。
I don't feel like Paul talked to her at all.
私はこの人を嫌いになった。ついこの間、久しぶりに会った時は酔っ払って女の人と一緒にいた。今もきっと。
Did you ever take a good look at your dad? Your dad was getting drunk with other women.
それなのに、この人はとても幸せそうだった。とにかく怒られないようにしなきゃ。ここに私を大切にしてくれる人はいないんだ。外に追い出されるのが怖い。ここはとても寒いから。私、寮で暮らしてみたい。
寮暮らしか。
ダメだよ。お父さんはお兄ちゃんと一緒に暮らせって言ってたもん。
Yeah, you'd think she'd think to herself about the time that Paul talked to her about Rudy, but she doesn't.
なんで怒らないの？わがまま言うなって怒鳴るんじゃないの？この人は私に興味がないのかもしれない。いや、
Yeah, it's easy to look at everything in a negative light if that's the way you view everything. It's a self-justifying thing.
ノルン・グレイラットです。よろしくお願いします。
グレイラット？
もしかしてあの？
ひょっとしてルーデウス・グレイラッ
Why
ト
wouldn't they think
さん
you're
のご家
Luke?
族ですか？
Luke has been here longer.
はい、あのルーデウスさんの。
学園最強の。
How does Luke feel about all this? That Rudy is the most popular greyrat.
なん
ても強いし。
いいなあ、俺もあんな兄ちゃんが欲しいぜ。
なるんです。ルーデウス先輩の妹さんですよね。はい、ノルングレイ。実は私たち前にルーデウスさんに魔術を教えてもらったことがあって、そのお礼を伝えてほしいんです。すみません。
I mean, I get the element that she's like,
ですからね。大丈夫です。きっとお兄さんのようになれますよ。
I mean, I get the element that she's like under his shadow. But shouldn't some of this also prove that Rudy's not as bad as she thought he was?
君のお兄さんってさ、わからない。
Because they're not saying like the negative shit she thinks about him all the time.
安心したまえ。君のお兄さんはああ見え。
知りたくない。
Yeah, that one didn't help.
まったく、お前たちのせいで濡れ衣を着せられるところだった。
ああ、ルーデウスさんだ。
俺話したことあるんだぜ。
いいな。どうしてみんなこんな人のことを。
Yeah, I legit don't know what you could fucking tell her at this point if it's you that is so directly the problem. Like, you're making her physically unwell. I don't know, you. If it was me, I'd just fucking leave. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Just not being around is the best thing for her. Oh, never mind. Here we go. Prove it wrong.
父によく言われた言葉だ。当時幼かった私には理解できなかった。けど、今なら少しわかる気がする。もしかしたら、あの人は私が思ってるような人ではないのかもしれない。じゃあ私はどうすればいいんだろう。あの人は私にどうしてほしいんだろう。父はどうやって仲直りしたんだろう。わからない。
He didn't tell her the important bit that I thought. Fucking Paul.
わからない。
どうした？
お父さんのとこに帰りたい。
そんなにルーデウスが嫌か？お前の兄はお前が思っているような人間ではない。強く、賢く、そして尊敬すべき戦士だ。
わからないよ。
お前にもわかる時が来る。次に会った時は逃げずに奴と向き合え。
She literally hid behind a pillar, as we already just saw in this episode of Remembering Things.
それに、お前の父は逃げなかったぞ。
兄さん。
ごめんな。お前こっちに来てから辛いだろ。せっかく新しい環境なのに、俺のせいでこんなことになって。
I don't know why I'm suddenly feeling emotional about this. Nothing's been said yet.
俺さ、お前のことよくわかんなくてさ。こんなことになってもどうすればいいのかわからないんだ。
Oh man, they are basically the same guy. Paul and Rudy.
俺、いるから。いなくならないから。お前のことちゃんと見てるから。だから、ここにいていいか。
兄はきっと絶対に私を殴らない。きっと父
It's
の
because
ことも
Rudy's
もう
abandonment
絶対に
issues
殴らない。
being
父は
applied to
逃げなかっ
Norn
た。
and
兄も
Norn's
逃げなかった。
thing.
なら私は
Everyone's got fucking problems, man. So these are the episodes I would call turning points. That was a fucking turning point.
おはようございます。
ああ、おはようノル。
シルフィー様、おはようございます。うん、おはよう、ノルンちゃん。ノルンちゃん、なんだかあの夜から少し明るくなった
Now
み
she
たい。
gets to go back to class and hear about how Rudy threatened everybody on her behalf.
俺は何もできなかった。あの後ノルンは何も話してはくれなかったし、何が不満で何がわだかまっていたか、その本心は分からずじまいだった。けど
きっともう大丈夫だな。
おそらく自分で自分の気持ちに整理をつけたのだろう。すごい子だ。彼女は生前の俺にできなかったことをやったのだ。俺もあの時ノルンのようにできていれば。
ルディ？お、どうしたの？
ちょっとね。
過去は変わらない。こじれてしまった家族との仲は戻らない。兄貴の真意も何もかもが闇の中だ。ただ長い間奥歯に挟まってい
Oh,
た
don't start getting sad about your former life. I guess technically you can also remember that they tried to beat you with bats.
僕たちも行こう。アリエル様に今回のお礼と報告をしないと。
ああ、リニアとプルセナにもな。
Oh, and they come out into the light.
もし七星が元の世界に帰る時が来たら、その時は兄貴に一つ伝言を頼もう。あの時はごめんなさい。そして
Thank you for trying to beat me with a baseball bat. Also, how weird would that be for Nanahoshi? I've been missing for all this time, but I come back with a message from your brother, who's also been dead the whole time. Sorry, when he's talking about everything at the end, my thought process goes to the fact that everyone thinks that Rudeus is exceptional as a person, and they talk him up a big game. But when it comes to Rudy thinking about other people, he often considers them how they measured up to him when he was at that age in his life. Like when Paul and him get back together, the whole reunion episode thing. And he has to talk Paul back into starting over again and instead of the first time that they met. And he thinks that how much more mature and accepting Paul is than he was at that age, and how hard it would be to step forwards like that and accept things. How Paul is doing better than he would have done, and now he has to encounter Norn in this position and realize that it doesn't matter if Norn's as smart as he was or exceptional at magic or anything like that. It doesn't matter that she's a stronger person than he was when he was much older than she was, because she's getting over shit like this at this young of age versus how long it took him from being older. What I say, man, this show doesn't know what turning points are. I've said before that the show thinks turning points are big action scenes, it feels like. The big explosion thing that teleported people everywhere. Sure, that was a very important narrative change. But for me, the first turning point was, again, the family meeting, which changed everyone's emotions and relationships and everything. This episode was turning point 3 for me, or probably would be a different number, because there's been a number of emotional episodes that have been very important. Like, the marriage episode, or not the marriage, when they come together and you find out Elenice is the grandma and we get all these emotional beats, that'd probably be like a turning point for me. This episode was a major turning point for me because we've broken down into what Norn's perspective was, what's happened to make her feel that way, and we've progressed through the wall of her life that was where Rudy fell down in his first life, and she managed to get through it. Without not a whole hell of a lot of weigh-in required by Rudy. Like, he literally was just quiet in the room. Sure, he said a couple of words that really helped, but at the end of the day, she could see in him the failing that she saw in Paul before Paul got his act back together again. And I think that's very important. It's going to be hard-pressed for them to make an action scene that has as much import to me as what happened here. Of course, there's also all throughout the episode Rudy is being a fucking master magician. You know, creating a cup of water and then at the same time filling it with water. Like, he did it on the table. I have no doubt he probably could have done it with the air. You know, he could have been like this and then formed a cup with water in it halfway through and then make it disappear back into the air again. That is just fucking crazy. That's like replicators without technology. And then he does the earth bending, just lifting shit up. It's like, it's all stuff on the level of what we've seen him do before. It's just he's doing it like thoughtlessly. And it's, I don't know, it's amazing. It's amazing. That is just cool. I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, what else? I don't know what Turning Point 3 could be. What episode number was this? Just check my thing here. This was episode 17. Okay, so episode 18 is Turning Point 3, and I have a thing, which I guess is another OVA episode that I've numbered 18.5 that I should watch after 18. Just want to double check now that it's not my next thing. 2 episodes from now, I have an episode called 18.5. So, if you're wondering if I know about it, I've gone out of my way to make sure that I had it. So, I don't think there's anything else. I covered everything I thought in the beginning of the episode, all my heavyweight, and again, still specifically in my thought section, the Aisha shit is what weighs on me the most, and the fact that I guess her parents, or sorry, Zenith's parents are a bit of a problem, possibly, for the future. But otherwise, yeah, I'm very happy with this episode. It's been a while since we watched something on the channel that got me a bit emotional, and that was working its way up because it just suddenly hit me. All the shit that Rudy went through in his first life is now immediately at play, and he's having a little bit of a breakdown, not knowing how to solve it. And we get to see more of his first life problem. Because again, I thought it was only his mother talking to him through the door when she's delivering him food about how good of a guy he is and that she knows he can get through it. I thought that was it. And then the implication that his brothers did try. They didn't go from, you know, who the fuck is that guy, to beating open his door with a baseball bat and seeing what kind of a freak he turned out to be in his self-time. So I appreciate that his brothers weren't just immediate pieces of shit, that they did try to help their other brother. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now. I'll save whatever thoughts come to me on to my next note section. Otherwise, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?